we are recording it now. If you've got any questions, then just feel free to either put them in chat or to voice them. We want it to be as interactive as possible and to get a discussion going. So that would be really lovely, but try to keep yourselves muted whilst the seminar's happening. So Oliver, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
I absolutely do. I'm going to share my screen as well, because unfortunately for you, I do have some PowerPoints. Thanks for coming today. We're going to talk about online wills, ways that you can get it right, and ways that you can, and things to think about. It is possible to do it well and less well. I'm going to talk about oversight, professional oversight. I'm going to talk about ethics. I'm going to talk about capacity, testamentary capacity, so that you can help make the best choices for your supporters, and also for the sustainable future of your charities. I'm Oliver. I'm the founder and head of legal at Make a Will Online and Capacity Vault, which is another DigiLegal Group company. I'm a Society of Trusts and Estate Practitioners affiliate and part of the Testamentary Capacity Special Interest Group. It's a real passion of mine. And we have been making wills online since about 2008. And in that time, we've seen lots of step changes in the industry. And lots of really amazing improvements for client security, for testamentary capacity, for the way that people run gifts in wills campaigns. Today, I'm going to talk about why it's important to think about professional oversight. I'm going to talk about why it's important for you to think about testamentary capacity. I'm going to talk to you about values. I'm going to talk to you about our values and why we think we're doing things in a way which is most beneficial for the charities we work with, but also for the supporters that you help to make their wills. But before I do that, I'm going to start with a couple of little stories. I'm going to tell you about Akello and Tessie, who are a couple that want to support a charity. I'm going to tell you about Paloma, who's a charity fundraiser. Some names may have been changed to protect the identity of those involved. So this is a story which is going to be really familiar to everybody here. So Akello and Tessie, they met when they were volunteering about just over 30 years ago. They are passionate about their chosen charity, and they still work with it on a regular basis. They've had a grandchild. They've been meaning to make a will for years, but kicked the can down the road. They never got round to it. They recently saw some publicity around free online wills, and they went for it. They left gifts to each other and then to their children. They also left a small residuary gift. One of those messages, leaving even a small proportion of your estate, means others closest to you get the rest. Paloma, on the flip side of this, is the chief fundraiser. She's been running a Gifts in Wills campaign for years. Some gifts have come in, but there's no way to know what's out there. She wears lots of hats. And the board's unsure about whether to keep on the Gifts in Wills campaign. So by using a well-monitored provider of wills that gives that data, gives that insight into the pledges as they happen, she's been able to see monthly reports into what's going on in her charity. So in the last monthly report, she saw the pledges from Akello and Tessie, and she was also able to report an estimated pledges of £30,000 to the board, which is great news for them. I'm going to make this a little bit interactive now. So I'm going to do a poll, or I should say, I'm going to try and run a quick poll to find out what you think the priorities here are. So the first thing I'm going to ask is what are the priorities for Okello and Tessie. If you don't know, you should be able to see along the bottom of your screen a tab that says polls and quizzes. Please click on it and you should have poll 1, which has been launched. I'm going to give just a minute to give you a second to choose 3 of the top 5 priorities when dealing with the Gifts and Wills campaign. Can everybody see that polling? I can see a few people are interacting. Isn't it lovely? It's all anonymous. But please choose the 3 things that you think are going to be most important to Okello and Tessie. If you want any clarification, just press space to unmute yourself and ask away. Give it another 10 seconds or so. So we've got the winners, the cost and convenience, with what were 12 now, 12 votes. We've got professional oversight, which has got 8 votes, protection from challenge, 2 votes, and then providers values 7 votes. That's great. More values than I thought. I'm pleased to see. So I'm going to end this poll now. I'll ask you another quick question. There we go. That's the results for you all to see. Cost and convenience winning there. Fantastic. It's important to supporters that they're not paying the earth. It's important to supporters that they can do something easily and that they have professional oversight and they trust their provider. So let's have a think now about what the priorities to Paloma are. So I'm going to run another poll now. I'm going to come back to this at the end. I want to know from you what you think the fundraisers' priorities are. They're the same as before. Slightly different order, annoyingly, for my chart. Okay, there's already seeing some different trends developing. Cost, by the way, is cost to the charity. Run this for another few seconds. So we've got 11. We had 14 votes last time. Can we get the same number of interactors? Right, I'm going to take a little thing. So we've got professional oversight. That's winning. Cost, we've got 9. Let's end this poll and share the results. So as you can see, we've got cost and professional oversight winning here. Protection from challenge has shot up from 2 votes for Okello and Tessie up to 9. Really pleased to see that. Convenience is lowest on this one, so great to see. Thank you for that. I'm going to come back to this at the end and just see where people's thoughts and values are at the end after we've spoken. Thank you for interacting. So I want to tell you what I think is most important, and I think it's aligned between the supporters and fundraisers, because at the end of the day, you are both seeking to add incredible value to an organisation that you truly believe in, and also get peace of mind that those wishes are protected. So the things which I'm going to focus in on are professional oversight and the importance of that. Capacity of people to make a will, testamentary capacity, which is one of the biggest area of challenge, and the values of the provider of the wills. Starting with professional oversight, who are the overseers of people who make wills? It's really important to say at the outset, writing wills is not a regulated area of business. Anyone can set up a will writing business and write wills for people, charging for it or doing it for free. When you think that the average gift in 2020 to a charity in a will was £30,000, it's a bit terrifying to think that something that valuable can be done by somebody with zero professional qualification or experience, but it can be. So you are going to be wanting to look for providers who have professional oversight, who have regulation, and the bodies that provide that are going to be Solicitors Regulation Authority for law firms, but also for individual solicitors providing services to the public. Society of Will Writers is a specialist organisation for will writers, and it provides oversight and training. And the Institute of Professional Will Writers is similar to the Society of Will Writers, and it provides competency training for people who are making wills and providing those services to the public. There are others out there as well, from things which are even higher regulated than solicitors, such as Society of Trust and Estate Practitioners, through to things which are newly emerging, like the Better Will Scheme. I'm not going to go into those here. These are the three big ones that you should be thinking about. Why does it matter? I've touched on it already. I've told you that writing wills is not a regulated area, but it matters because in order to join any of these groups, you have to have received the training, pass the CPD, pass the exams. I mean, solicitors, it's a 3-year degree or 1 year of conversion plus 1 year professional study plus 2 years on-the-job training. It is less for other providers, but still it goes into some depth. Code of conduct. If you have an unregulated will writer, sure, there's a way to get recourse if something goes wrong, but it's likely to be extremely difficult, and you're going to be at the whims of the statutes on the services, provision of services to the public. All of the oversight bodies that I've mentioned have codes of conduct. That means that if something goes wrong, if the solicitor or if the will writer does a poor job or does something which the supporter thinks is unfair, they will know how to go through a complaints procedure and they will get recourse. And I cannot explain to you how much comfort that can give to a provider and how much it sharpens up the provider when they are providing those professional services. The big one, professional indemnity insurance. Will writing is unregulated. It's very easy to form shell companies. It takes 10 minutes and costs you 13 quid or 15 quid or something. If something goes wrong, if somebody does a bad job, recklessly or intentionally or negligently, if there's no insurance in place, it's a really bad news story for the family and for the wishes of the deceased. Cue years of litigation and problems. All solicitors providing services to the public and members of the oversight bodies that I mentioned, Professional Society of Will Writers and Institute of Professional Will Writers, are insured. I know that we have to have a minimum of 500,000. We always keep £2 million professional indemnity insurance for the protection of the public. Why does this matter to the supporter? Touched on it earlier. It's the peace of mind. They want to know that they've made a will. They want to know that it's been done properly. They want to be able to rest easy. This incredibly important document has been done to the best of what they need. For the charity, it goes deeper. It really goes to the core of risk to the organisation. If something's contested, it's going to be your time that's taken. It's going to be the money in the gift that's been left to you that would be at risk. And And reputationally, you are giving a recommendation when you are providing a link to an outside provider. And that, cuts both ways. It's great when it goes well, but if it goes wrong, it will reflect poorly upon the giver of that recommendation. So that's why professional oversight matters. It's making sure that you've got the right protections in place for the supporters and also for yourself, be that through training, be that through complaints procedures, or be that through indemnity insurance for the protection of everybody at the end. I'm going to talk to you about testamentary capacity. I'm going to talk to you about testamentary capacity because it is going to be one of the biggest challenges over the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. And those are the timescales that everybody in this room is thinking about. That is when people make their will to when they die and those gifts come to fruition. Very, very quickly, a bit of boring background law. Testamentary capacity comes down to an ancient case in which the test is to see if someone's got sound mind. They know what's happening when they're signing the will. They understand what's going on. Sound memory. They know what their estate looks like. They know what money is in there, what assets, they know what they're about, how wealthy they are. And sound understanding. Do they know what their family situation is? Do they know what their personal situation is? Can they remember who they should be remembering in a will, who might expect to be inheriting under a will, their dependents? And finally, a test which I thought would have fallen by the wayside, no insane delusion or disorder of the mind. Now that's actually been examined quite a lot over the last few years, especially around grief and other kind of things that could poison the affection of someone making the will upon others. But the top 3 tests are sound mind, sound memory, sound understanding. It's not a Mental Capacity Act test. And another case came through this year, just reconfirming that. Why does it matter? You need to address testamentary capacity when you're making a will. Just for the peace of mind of the supporter, it's so easy to contest a will, and it's so easy to say, oh, Nan didn't know what she was doing when she was writing her will. You want to reduce the chance of challenge. I've touched on it before around professional oversight. I'm going to touch on it again. The financial implications of a challenge. At best, you are going to lose lots of time and maybe significant legal fees fighting and winning. At worst, you will lose the entire gift that's been pledged to you, which is not the wishes of the supporter, and it is bad news for you. Often things settle, which means you'll lose potentially a significant proportion of a gift to you. 2020 average gift to a charity was £30,000. So do think about that when you're thinking about protecting your future.
Out of interest, Oliver, out of interest, what is the average cost of taking a claim to court?
So the average cost of a claim when you're can be a few £100s in legal fees if it settles at the very beginning. If it ends up in court, and one of the higher courts, you're looking at tens of thousands, or 10,000 plus. If it goes to one of the appellate courts, one of the higher courts, if there's ongoing arguments after the first complaint, you could be looking at multiple tens of thousands, possibly hundreds, to appeal something. And as you can imagine, that can destroy the value in an estate pretty quickly. So that's why so much settles, because the threat of litigation is such that people know that the other beneficiaries are likely to settle and just give up. So the other thing to mention is reputational implication of challenge. There are aspects of the press and media that really love to jump in on a story where a charity is trying to protect a gift when there are other family members involved. Nobody ever ends up looking good here. So you want to stamp out the problems. Another point about why testamentary capacity matters. It's the ticking time bomb. It's the unseen tsunami. Dementia cases are going to go up as the population ages, and that means more people are going to contest the wills of the elderly. It is the quickest area of challenge. We did some desktop research, and also a survey of over 1,000 will writers and solicitors. And we discovered that more wills are now being made remotely. And that's a trend which is sticking. We looked at pre and post pandemic. So 95% of will writers have made wills in a remote way. That includes online wills, but it's also traditional providers. Only 32% had done previously. In 2020, 9 out of 10 of the wills that were contested up to court included a ground of lack of testamentary capacity, because it's so easy to chuck in there. All they've got to say is, oh, Nan didn't know what she was doing when she wrote that will. And it's very hard to disprove, and it will give claims legs. We found out that 1 in 10 professionals has taken instructions for wills over WhatsApp, which is great to see people embracing new technology, but slightly terrifying when you think about the evidence that you need to protect a will if it's challenged. And we also found out that 45% of the respondents to the survey were worried about challenge around testamentary capacity. And that's massive, because we're asking qualified professionals and they see that vulnerability. So who needs to consider testamentary capacity and protecting their wills? This is a case from a chap called, Reece Simpson. Remember the name of the judge who gave this ruling. He's called Lord Templeman, and he was an excellent lawyer and a very good judge, and somebody you'd think was of the highest responsibility. And he said that people who are elderly should protect their wills around testamentary capacity. No definition of an elderly, unhelpfully, but just elderly. So we always say anybody retirement age plus, or anybody who's suffered a serious illness, and especially people who are currently on medication, but it also looks backwards. So if you have been in the past, you have to consider testamentary capacity. More generally, just anybody who's concerned their wills might be challenged. If there's a relative out there who might pop up and go, oh, I want a piece of that pie. And anybody who's giving substantial gifts. So we did had some conversations with Legacy Foresight about levels of challenges. We know that back in 2015, around about 3% of gifts in wills were contested. We also know there was a trend that the larger gifts are much more likely. So that 3% might represent a much higher percentage of charity income. If there's a substantial gift to a charity, think about testamentary capacity and protect the charity and your wishes. Just a little throwback. I mentioned Lord Templeman, who came up with the test of who should think about testamentary capacity. This is a case from 2020. Do you recognise that name? It is the one and the same Lord Templeman. Just goes to show that everybody needs to think about testamentary capacity. His will was contested. He died in 2014. This got to the higher courts in 2020. And he was found not to have gone through the steps that he set out in order to protect his will. Any will can be challenged. Do take steps to protect them. So when to take action, do it immediately before or after doing a will, and everybody needs to consider testamentary capacity and protecting their wishes, because only they know their personal background. What can you do? Back in 1977, I think Lord Templeman expected people to go and see their GP. There is now advice through all the royal colleges, do not witness a will if you are a doctor, simply because you get dragged back into court if that will's contested. You don't get paid for it. You're cross-examined and made to look stupid by a barrister. They're looking to overturn that will if you're there. It's a bad place to be. So you can see private doctors, very difficult to get outside of London, and the cost is prohibitive. It tends to be around about £1,500. You can get social workers who are trained in testamentary capacity assessments. Even so, it costs quite a lot. Capacity Vault is a way of doing it conveniently from your own home, and it costs £150. It's free through all wills made with any of our charity partners through Make a Will Online. So Capacity Vault stores a permanent record of somebody's testamentary capacity by doing a video interview online, simultaneously restoring that and encrypting it in an offsite server using aspects of blockchain technology in order to ensure that that recording is immutable, decentralized record of the hashes that protect it, and tamper-proof. So there is going to be no funny business with those recordings. They are going to be stored as near as possible to permanently. You know, we guarantee 15 years, but we anticipate 50 plus years of storage and retrieval, which is way more than anybody would get recording on their phone or other apps. Tell you how it does it. You work through a handheld device, go through an interview, you ask questions, it stores it using a front-facing camera. You don't have to download any apps or do anything which might be too challenging for an elderly or vulnerable client. And who should use it? We've gone through that. Elderly, unwell, anybody who has any inkling there might be the merest chance of a challenge to their will, because if someone's going to challenge the will, they are going to throw in testamentary capacity, or 9 out of 10 times they're going to throw in testamentary capacity as a challenge. You just want to nix that at the earliest possibility. Testamentary capacity will protect against undue influence and fraud to a greater extent as well, simply because of the protections we put in place. That's a little snap of the homepage. How are we doing for time, Marie? I think we're running a bit over. I'm going to circulate a video.
Slightly.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to circulate a video and show you what the recording looks like after. And skip through this. I'm going to talk to you very briefly over the next 5 minutes about values of the will provider. That's the third limb. I've spoken to you about professional oversight and the importance of making sure that your supporters are fully protected from a training point of view. You know, not a wills expert, but a will writer who's regulated by the SRA or the Society of Will Writers or the Institute of Professional Will Writers. I've spoken to you about protecting wills from challenge and the biggest growing area of challenge and how to address that. I'm going to talk to you about our values and why we think they're important. The theme I'm going to come back to over and over again is, why is the provider making wills and why does that matter to your supporter? So I can speak for ourselves, I can't speak for others, but all I'm going to say is we make wills. We are a legal services provider. We do not upsell, cross-sell. The fees are fixed at the beginning, and it's £40 when a will is purchased through a charity. There's a flat rate. We do not resell funerals, which are an incredibly profitable area. Last year we were being offered commissions of £1,500 or so on funeral plans that people were being sold, which were worth, which would cost £7,000, £8,000, £9,000. We don't want to do that. We just want to provide the wills. We don't offer life insurance. We don't cross-sell life insurance. Again, incredibly valuable area of business, but not one that people necessarily want to be sold at about. We don't have a panel of expert solicitors that we refer out to, or other legal services providers. Any referrals or any advice that's taken outside of Make a Will Online from a solicitor within Make a Will Online that doesn't have those skills is given at arm's length directly back to the Law Society or to your face-to-face wills provider. So we make wills, that is the core of what we do. And one thing to think about when choosing a provider is that immortal line: if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So there's lots of free providers out there. What is going on? What is the best interests of your supporters? I already mentioned that all of the legal services we provide are done in-house. We don't refer outside. Cut us in half, you'll find a legal services provider. We launched in 2008. We provide technologies that improve legal services to the public through our DigiLegal brand. That is all we do. Think about the welfare of the supporters. A lot of the people making wills are triggered by retirement, by bereavement, by later life issues, serious illness. That's when they want to make their will. That's going to be one of the triggers. Somebody who's older might not appreciate or might end up being sucked into purchasing funeral insurance, life insurance, other end-of-life planning products. We don't resell them. These are your supporters. You are paying us for the service. We want to make sure that your supporters get that and nothing else. I've spoken about provision of legal services, reputation of the charity as well. Our values are that when we make wills, we do the very best job we can. We provide exactly the same level of service as we would from somebody who's coming in from off the high street and paying more than double what charities pay when they buy the wills. It's blind to us when we do our due diligence, how they got to us, and we make sure everybody gets the very best level of service to protect the reputation of the charity. Other considerations that you're going to have are going to be around cost, cost to the charity, cost to the supporter. As I said, we're £40 flat fee for every will that we make. It's done on a pay-as-you-use basis. There's no tie-ins or any tricks up the sleeve, but that doesn't change the world. We are competitive there. Convenience. It's done online. It's so easy for a supporter to turn their intention into a reality. And that's what we want to do. We want to capture those people who want to make a will but haven't got around to it. And analytics, you want to make sure that any of your partners give you that vital information that Paloma at the beginning needed in order to interpret the information that on what your supporters are up to. Google Analytics 4 has just come out. It's just being over the next kind of 3-4 months, they're going to get rid of the old analytics. It's amazing. Make sure that your provider of online wills is able to give you that really granular information and data on what your supporters are up to. I know we certainly can. We've also got our customized deck, which allows a very high level look each time you log in, as well as those other reports. Every supporter should be able to provide clarity and information, all of those. So I'm coming to the end of my conversation about professional oversight, about capacity and protection from challenge, and also about the values of the partner that you choose. I'm going to ask you again, so just have another little think about where we've got to. It's about where you've got to. It's in the polls. It's along the bottom. This is Paloma again. I'd love to see where we're at. I think who's still at the screen. So the poll should have launched. There we go. This is the exit poll. There we go. I think that's another couple of seconds. Take it up to 40 seconds, and then there we go. Let's share those results. So we are up to cost has gone down a little on the last one. The provider's priorities has dipped a little. Oversight and protection from challenge have popped up to 11 out of the 14, and convenience is kind of sitting around in the middle. So really interesting. It's really nice to see the kind of change over time over the course of the seminar there, how people's priorities have been affected. I'm going to stop sharing now and just open up the floor to some questions. We've got it's a couple of minutes to before 22. Has anybody got any questions about capacity, professional oversight, or values that I've brought up so far? And pop them on the chat if you'd like.
Hi, Oliver.
Hello, Lucinda.
Hi. Thank you. That was really, really interesting.
Because it does add 5 minutes, like June.
Oh, mute Paul. Sorry, Paul. Someone popped up. Sorry, Lucinda. Carry on.
So I work at Remember a Charity, and we do a lot of work in terms of trying to make sure that we give all of our members all the information they need when they're choosing a will writing provider. And we also have a network of campaign supporters, so that's solicitors and will writers who support our work and sign up to be part of our public directory. And as part of that, they have to either be SRA regulated or be members of the IPW or Society of Will Writers. The question I wanted to ask was that sometimes when I've been talking to professional advisors, whether that's solicitors or will writers, they have questioned whether the Society of Will Writers is as good as IPW in terms of the level of qualifications and the code of conduct. I've heard some anecdotal comments about Society of Will Writers not being quite as impressive as IPW. Do you have any opinions on that, or any comments?
So I'm a solicitor, so I'm regulated by the SRA. I'm also a member of the Society of Trust and Estate Practitioners.
Yeah.
So those are the ones I know most about. Now, I know a little about the Society of Will Writers and the IPW. I know that we signed up to the Society Code of Conduct, and it is good. I have provided training to society members, and I've also had quite a lot of insight into the entrance examination and qualification through it, as well as the ongoing CPD. I think that it's very rigorous. Comparing it with my own CPD requirements as a solicitor and a member of Society of Trust and Estate Practitioners, I think it's good in the society. I don't have that same level of oversight of the IPW. However, I have been in touch with them over the years, and I know that if you're a member of the society, you can convert your membership to membership of the IPW. I don't know why the insurance requirements are the same. That's the biggie. The code of conduct is, I mean, they're both public. So I think that maybe a detailed analysis and around the protection of public from harm is in order. I remember there being something about 10 years ago where there was a RAC, I think, were happy to endorse IPW, but they weren't happy to endorse the society. I think that needs to just be kept under review. I think they seem very similar from the outside.
Yeah.
I have seen more of the society than the IPW. The society is bigger. The society's got about 10,000 members, and the IPW's got about 1,000. So okay, I don't know. I can't give you any detailed analysis, but the gold standard should remain solicitor checks and solicitor advice from qualified solicitors, because, you know, I'm biased as a solicitor under the SRA, but I do think that provides the best peace of mind for supporters and the best professional oversight.
Absolutely, great, thank you.
No problem, thank you, Linda. Has anybody else got any questions? If not, I think we can.
I've got one that people might be interested in. So we offer Capacity Vault free to charity partners when they're using Make All Online. But if they wanted to access it independently, how could they do that?
Yeah. So thank you very much. Yeah, it is a service which is available to the general public. If somebody thinks their will might be challenged, then they can access capacityvault.co.uk and go through the same steps, but they, instead of having the partner charity or Make a Will online code, they're going to pay the market price, which is £150 for that test, and that includes indefinite storage of their videos, as well as the encryption and blockchain aspects that protect their and allow us to provide those recordings back to court in a form that the courts will accept. Thank you.
Any
If
more
there is-
questions? No, there's nothing in chat either.
So I'd just like to, before we finish, to say a massive thank you to everybody who's attended today. If you've got anything you want to follow up, do get in touch with me. It's or Marie, and that's going to be Oliver at Make a Will Online, or partnerships at Make a Will Online. Really great, and thank you, listeners, for the question.
Yeah.
All the very best.
Thank you for everybody for joining. I'll send through the recording probably tomorrow, and all my contact details will be on there as well. Okay, have a lovely day and the rest of your week.
Super, many thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.